Hello friends, it's Miss Stevenson again, and this week we're doing mostly art activities that have to do with Halloween because I know that many of you are excited about Halloween. As always, even though I'm doing my pictures and drawings with kind of a Halloween theme, you don't have to do that. You can make yours a fall picture and leave the Halloween things out of it. So the first one I wanted to do is a drawing, and I'm going to use a whole bunch of different materials on this drawing because you may have markers at home, you may have colored paper at home, and you may have crayons at home. So I'm going to use a little bit of everything, and you can make your art with the materials that you have at home ready for you. So the first one I'm going to do is about the poem, The Five Little Pumpkins. And some of you may have already done this with your class. I know my class has done The Five Little Pumpkins already, and we're going to be doing it again this week. Maybe some of you haven't heard it yet, and you probably will hear it this week. The first thing I want to do is I want to make a fence or a gate for my five little pumpkins to sit on. So I'm going to use my hand. I'm going to trace my hand to be the gate. Here we go. Let's see if I can do it. And I want to space my fingers out so that there's spaces between each finger. I don't want my fingers to be close together like that. I want them to be spaced a little bit, and you'll see why. I'm going to make it look like a gate or a fence. And I want my hand, I want people to see that I traced my hand because it's a cool little trick of the artwork. Okay, so here's my gate. I'm going to turn my hand into kind of like a little hill. Okay, so it's kind of like a little hill. And I'm going to draw a line across the bottom. We're going to try to camouflage my hand into the hill. Hopefully you can see that okay. And fences or gates have pieces of wood that join the posts, right? So here's my wood that's joining the posts, okay? And maybe I have another piece of wood here, another piece of wood here, like that. Here's another fence post over here, okay? So here is my gate for my five little pumpkins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my hill for my pumpkins to sit on. I'm going to color my hill green. And I'm going to color right over top of the line for my hand. Because remember, I want people to see that I traced my hand as a neat little art trick, but I also kind of want to camouflage it. So I'm going to color the whole thing green, like that. There. And I want my fence to be brown. So I'll color all my fence posts brown. And remember, my fingers are supposed to be part of the fence post. So there's 1 for the first pumpkin. 2, for the second pumpkin. And 3. 4. And a funny one down here, my thumb, number 5. And there's part of the fence. It's a funny, rickety old fence, I think. And I'm going to use a crayon to color a big full moon in the sky. Here's my moon. And some stars. Another star. There we go. Maybe one more star. There. And it's nighttime in my drawing. So now I'm going to color around everything. I'm going to make the background black because I want it to be like nighttime. You can use a crayon, you can use a pencil crayon. You can do this whole thing with colored paper if you want to. It's up to you. You could even do the drawing part, the details of the drawing with crayons like I've shown you before, and then you can paint over the whole thing with black paint, like a crayon resist painting. You could do it that way too. And then when the paint dries, you can put the pumpkins on the top of the fence posts. There we go. And we've talked about it before. When you look out in the distance, the sky and the ground touch. There's no space in between the ground and the sky. So instead of drawing my sky at the very top of the page, I'm doing the whole background the color of the sky. Because the sky comes all the way down to meet the ground in the distance. My black marker is starting to run out of color, I think. I think it's time for me to get a new pack of markers, maybe. And maybe in your drawing, it will be daytime. Maybe you'll choose to do a sun and a blue sky. But I want mine to kind of look like Halloween night, so since it's nighttime, I did black. Is my marker going to make it? I don't know. Am I going to have enough in there to get finished? Sometimes when the markers are starting to run out like this, if you get a little cup of water and put the tip in a little bit of water, you can get a little bit more color out of your marker. It's a way to make them last a little bit longer. I may have to do that still. So now I have some orange paper left over from an activity that we did before. I think maybe this is left over from tracing my hands for my turkey feathers. And I am going to draw 5 little pumpkins so that they can sit on my gate. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember what I said before, you want, whenever you cut a shape out from paper, you want it to be close to the edge. That way you don't have a lot of extra paper to deal with around the shape. That's really important for people when they're first starting to learn how to cut with scissors. And I can separate my pumpkin shapes by cutting them apart. That will help when we're beginning to learn how to use scissors too. I'm sitting in my chair and pointing the scissors away from my body. And I'm turning the paper to cut. And here's my first little pumpkin for the gate. Number 2. Number 3. You could even use white paper to make your pumpkins. Maybe some of you have seen those cool white pumpkins that they have now. Or maybe you'll do a pumpkin from your imagination and make it a rainbow pumpkin. Okay. So I've got my 5 little pumpkins ready to sit on the gate. Here's 1. And I'm choosing to turn mine around. I don't really want to see the black outlines around because I didn't cut all of the black marker off. So I'm turning mine around so that it looks a little bit cleaner and I don't see the black outline. But it doesn't really matter. You don't have to do that. There we go. There's another one. And this one. Now you could just draw the lines on your pumpkins to make them look like pumpkins sitting on a gate, right? Or you could make your pumpkins jack-o'-lanterns. That works too. So maybe some of mine will be pumpkins, and some of mine will be jack-o'-lanterns. There's one. There's a jack-o'-lantern. This guy, I'll give him square eyes and maybe a upside down triangle nose. And maybe he's got some funny teeth. There we go. Maybe I'll give this guy rectangle eyes. Like that. And a circle nose. There. There we go. If you want to draw stems on your pumpkins, you can, or you can use green paper if you don't want to draw them. They don't really show up on the black background very well, but you can kind of see it a little bit. And now I'm going to add an extra detail because mine's a Halloween picture. So I'm going to put a ghost. I think I'll put a little ghost over here flying in the air. So I'm drawing it really close to the edge of the paper. And I think maybe I'll do 3. But if your picture is not a Halloween picture, you might choose a different detail. You could put a fall tree in the background. Or you could put more stars in the sky. You could even draw people around. There could be people in your picture. There. I think I'll put a ghost over here. And here. And here. There we go. Now, one of my friends in my class reminded me about the trick with glue sticks. Glue sticks are really fun. I know, they're really fun to turn all the way up. We love to do that. We love to see how tall they go. But sometimes when you turn them too high up, they won't go back down again. And then the glue stick gets wasted. The other problem is sometimes the glue gets snapped off. If we try to deal with too much glue turned up, then the glue can get snapped off and then it is wasted. So it's a really good idea to just turn up as much as you need. You only need a little bit to be turned up. And then it's very important to put the lid back on when you're done, because just like markers, if you leave the lid off, it will all dry out and you won't be able to use it anymore. So when you're finished, you have to turn it down, because if you don't turn it back down, the lid won't fit on it properly. And then you can put the lid on. And there are some kinds that the lid just sticks right on the top. Those are easy, but this kind you have to turn. You might need to get a grown-up to help you, or a brother or sister, to get it put back on there properly. And you can't forget to take your scraps and put them where they belong. If your scrap, this is a trick we've learned at school over the years. If your scrap is bigger than your hand, then it goes in the recycling bin, unless you're going to keep it to use it later. This piece is big enough that I can use later, so I'm not going to recycle it. I'm going to keep it. But if you have a piece that you don't think you can use again and it's bigger than your hand, put it in the recycling bin. But if it's smaller than your hand, it goes in the garbage can, because they cannot recycle little bits of paper like that. So small bits go in the garbage. And don't forget, it is your job as the artist to clean up after yourself when you're done. Don't leave your mess for mom and dad, or your auntie or your uncle, or your grandma or your grandpa. If you make the mess, you need to clean it up. So I hope you have a lot of fun making 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate. We can't wait to see your beautiful art on Brightspace, and I'll see you soon. Bye.